Rachel.
Michael.
We're here. Staff and Grab Podcast.
It is.
Hosted by you and me.
Hosted by us. With Grinch decorations.
We have a lot of Grinch. Rachel, that's her thing, is that she loves the Grinch.
If you're new here.
That's her thing. She loves the Grinch.
Our Christmas podcast, the one we do before Christmas,
yes.
I will be in a Grinch onesie.
It's
just
always,
so we're all clear.
That's always my favorite one, man. We do our naughty list and our nice list. And
I can't wait.
Do all that. It's always the best because we're always wrapped in Christmas spirit. And I might do it up this year. Like I might get like a Santa costume or something, or just do or dress like an elf. Maybe.
Oh, you can be Buddy the Elf. I'll be the Grinch.
I'll try and find yellow leggings.
Do not
basically.
show up in leggings to my condo,
I think
please.
I might show up in yellow leggings. And
we need to hear from the people. Do we want to see Michael dressed as Buddy the Elf?
Listen,
you have to come with a hat and everything, though.
Oh yeah, I might not be the most the most handsome guy in the world, but the one thing I will give myself credit for is because of the amount of running and hiking and all that I do have nice legs. I have good thighs, calves.
We've discussed
whatever.
this. You have nicer legs than me, and I used to be an elite gymnast.
Yeah, well, I'm a marathon runner, Rachel, and I also was a high level hockey player. I grew up on an elliptical, stationary bike growing up. So.
I finally got to skate on Tuesday for the first time in 3 weeks.
I got to skate.
Oh,
I do my annual hockey games every year dude. I got to tell you. So I played in the Eric Lindros celebrity charity classic on Friday. So not tomorrow when we're recording this, obviously, because that's how time works.
A week ago,
and it was great. It was only 2 games this year because normally we have to play 3 hockey games in one day.
Yeah, that's a no. And
by the third game, like all of the people with like kids and responsibilities and people who love them in their lives and whatnot, they're all gone because they have stuff to do. So it ends up just being like last year.
Not like us. We don't have children for sure.
No one cares if I live or die. So I can play hockey games as much as I want. But we had like last year, it was crazy, and we had 6 guys by the last game, and it's running time, thankfully.
Okay.
But it's 3 15-minute periods.
Is it 3-on-3?
No, it's full.
Ugh.
Like it's no way it's 3-on-3. So it was crazy. Like it was.
No thanks.
And also like my knee was like gonna explode last year. Like I had to like hobble out of there. But this year it always surprises me because I'm used to. I grew up. I lived in skates, so I was, my like body was used to it. But now I run and I hike and all that, so it's different like muscles. Let me just say the dogs were barking, and by the dogs were barking, I'm saying my feet were on fire.
You know what's so funny is you bring up skates. For anyone who still plays, whether it's like men's league or whatever the case, spend the extra, I think it's like $100 and get them
molded to you.
No, get the black steel skate blades. I have not had to get my skates sharpened in over a year.
Yeah. Because
I spent an extra $100 to get black steel. So think about how much money I've saved by not having to get my skates sharpened. So it's like, it's an outlay at the beginning, but it saves so much money because usually I get my skates, like when I played, I would get my skates sharpened every 3 times.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do.
Now, I couldn't even tell you the last time I got my skates sharpened. Like I think it was when I got the steel put in. Like it might be that. But anyways, let's we got to talk about another funny guy, not Will Ferrell. We're going to talk about Travis Kelce.
Okay, so I guess this is sort of like this is as the how this sort of folds into our podcast, I guess, is because hockey is the most pick-me sport on the planet. Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
Like anytime a celebrity of a certain stature or whatever mentions hockey in any regard, like every team account, every whatever, they'll be like, oh, like you should.
The Jonas Brothers showed up at the Oilers game on Wednesday night,
there was a clip of the Jonas Brothers looking like they were like really intense, like, oh, it looks like it's an SOS on the ice, like, oh, I'm like, it's burning up in Rogers Place tonight,
which is why it's kind of weird that absolutely no one in hockey has picked up on the fact that the Kelce brothers like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
So apparently the Kelce brothers are big Leafs fans. Or not big, but like they are Leafs fans.
Jason Kelce has said on the show that he likes watching them, likes the vibe and everything. And like you would think, like even though the Leafs are an Original Six team, they don't exactly need help marketing. And we'll talk about what another Original Six team does later in the show a little bit. But like you're talking about the biggest sports podcast right now because of the Taylor Swift situation.
Even before the Taylor Swift situation, it was I think number one. I think
it was massive. But now you have a bunch of like new whatever. If I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, I am sending those brothers jerseys and whatever else so freaking quickly. And in their offseason, they are like, it's all-star this year.
Yes.
And the Eagles and Chiefs might be in the Super Bowl.
They will likely be facing each other in the Super Bowl.
All-star weekend's probably not feasible. But if I'm the Leafs and they truly, like if Jason Kelce said he likes the Leafs totally unsolicited, get them to a Leafs game, you would actually not even understand the level of impact that would have. People would tune in. Like, think about how many people are tuning in to watch football because of Taylor Swift.
Dude, the amount of people that tune in to watch like the Chiefs slaughter the Jets on like Sunday night because of Taylor Swift was hilarious. But like the thing that's tough though is that like obviously Toronto doesn't have an NFL team. So like when are they going to be in Toronto? And I don't think the Chiefs play the Bills this year, or at least in Buffalo. So that would be like, so it wouldn't even make sense. But it's for All-Star Week. Let's say let's say they don't get there.
Well, the thing they did lose to freaking Denver.
Yeah, it's true. Well, no, but that's the Bills.
No.
And the Chiefs did too. Yeah. Man, Denver's coming up, man. They've won 3 in a row. Like I think 4 in a row now.
Is Sean Payton performing Harry Potter?
Well, yeah.
Sorcery?
So not to get off on a tangent, but like, and I think you knew this about me, but like I was from I think like 2010 until literally when my favorite NFL player of all time is Drew Brees. He's a short guy. I'm a short guy. He
notedly,
and he sorry, Connor. He friggin' tore the crap out of his shoulder. And I did the same thing when I was playing hockey. And I read his biography when I was recovering when I was like 14, 15. And it was like super inspiring. And I'm like, this guy's my favorite player. So I became a huge Saints fan. But now I just have no really reason to cheer for them because both Sean Payton and Drew Brees are gone. And like Michael Thomas is getting arrested every week and Cam Jordan is cool. But like, Sean Payton was my coach for like
I like Sean Payton a lot.
I love Sean Payton. Sure, he got suspended for a full season because he was putting bounties on players' heads. Sure. But you know what? It's the TikTok time. It's like, he was the greatest guy around. But what about the murder? Murder?
We have people on TikTok talking about things that are like absolutely wild in today's day and age. So yeah,
but you know the TikTok sound I'm talking about where it's like, he was the greatest guy around. But what about the murders? What murders? That's me with Sean Payton.
If the Chiefs, so let's say theoretically, let's say the Chiefs and Eagles don't make the Super Bowl. If they're out by All-Star Week and the Leafs do not, and the NHL does not somehow get them to Toronto, it's a mistake.
So I'm pretty sure Super Bowl and All-Star Week,
they're different.
They are different. Yeah. Super Bowl's one is the week after. Yeah. So that would be feasible. Like I was there for the All-Star
because I'm doing both. I'm going to be at both.
Yeah. And I was at the All-Star game last year, and let me tell you, like they need all the star power they can get there, because even though it was in Fort Lauderdale, like there was kind of a huge lack of it. And
can you imagine the Kelce brothers like film a podcast? I would just, if I were the Leafs, I'm like, film at center ice. Like, I don't even care. You know what? If they want to step on the logo, step on the logo.
Well, the Leafs cover I tell this to everyone. They cover the logo.
You know what I don't understand? You are the Leafs are worth $2 billion now.
They're 2.65.
2.65. Do a $10 million renovation and put the logo on the ceiling.
That wouldn't cost 10. Oh, actually it was.
I don't care how much it would cost.
Well, the thing with the Leafs is they don't, this is a little behind the scenes, and you know this because you've been in the locker room. They don't really have a ceiling in their locker room. Like they do.
They don't.
They do, but it's like it's like all of the pipes and stuff. But then under the pipes, it's like a bunch of sort of like white, like plastic or like.
Yeah, it's just not very appealing.
Slats, basically. No, it looks cool, but I'm like, if you want to put it probably would cost 10 mil because you have to build a drywall ceiling basically under all the pipes.
Like Seattle nailed it. Logo on the ceiling.
I think the Wild have it now. I think the Ducks have it now. Like
the Leafs need to do a renovation anyways. Put the logo.
They are doing a renovation.
Yeah.
They're doing a huge one. Like when they get eliminated.
I remember when I was in, and we're going to talk about this team because we need to do a deep dive into them. When we were doing the dressing room renovation, when I was in Vancouver, I literally was like, I remember sitting in the meeting being like,
logo on the ceiling.
Logo on the ceiling, and they're like, no, we can't do that. We're picking the colors of the benches, and I was like, logo on the ceiling. No one cares what color the wood is. Logo on the ceiling, and lo and behold, day one in the dressing room, somebody was yelling about it. I was like, we could have avoided this problem if we put the logo on the ceiling. They literally they moved the dressing room, put it on the ceiling. If you do a dressing room renovation and you don't put your logo on the ceiling, it should be free game because you're a dummy. That's that. Anyways, get Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce there because Travis Kelce used to play hockey. And Mike went through and found a bunch of Travis Kelce's tweets.
So what's
happening? So funny.
So what's happening on Twitter these days? I will call it Twitter. Is people are uncovering. Well, there's this famous tweet that has sort of underlined how every position group tweets in the NFL. So it's typical QB tweet. Love my teammates. God is good. Exclamation
Patrick
mark.
Mahomes. Hello.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, all of them. Running
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Exactly. Oh my God. Running back tweet is keep grinding. That's what they all basically how it all sounds.
Alvin Kamara's tweet right there.
Wide receiver tweet. The enemy speaks kindly and holds a knife. They all tweet like that. Like look at what Stephon Diggs has been doing this week. Look at what but then tight end tweet is just derp. And that is true because people have been uncovering a bunch of like old Travis Kelce tweets from 2010 until like 2014.
We were in high school.
During this time. Yeah. And he's quite a bit older than us, but he was like probably in like he was in college, I think, at this point, or like early college.
He's not quite a bit older than us. Like he's like
34. Like he's old. He's the same age as Gronk. Did you not know that?
No, but you make this guy sound like he's 40.
No, but we're 27. He's 34. That's 7 years.
I've dated
pretty,
people older than that.
Yeah, so have I. But it's pretty like
routinely.
Yeah. So some of the funny tweets that got to me is one from June 18th of 2010. I believe this was during an Olympic or World Cup soccer match. Just
World Cup, yeah.
USA is pissing me off! 4 exclamation marks. The best one by far is the one that's been circling the most is Travis Kelce on April 14th, 2011. He goes, I just gave a squirrel, Squirle,
solid,
a piece of bread and it straight smashed all of it. 4 exclamation marks. I had no idea they ate bread like that. 2 exclamation marks. Capital, haha, hashtag crazy.
Travis Kelce is so growing up, Peyton Manning was my favorite player because of like a story with my mom. Like my mom, the day Peyton Manning signed the richest contract in NFL history, my mom was in Indianapolis and she was at St. Elmo's Steakhouse, which if you don't know what St. Elmo's is, you should know. You should know. Yeah. And Peyton walked in and was like at the bar, just waiting for takeout, opening like the menu kind of thing. And my dad pokes my mom and was like, hey, like that's Peyton Manning. This is the day he signed the contract. My mom in Indianapolis screams, Peyton Manning? Who's Peyton Manning? Peyton just looks at her and is like, what? So Peyton Manning was my favorite football player. He definitely since that day.
He definitely thinks that your mom was insulting him.
Oh yeah,
because who just instinctively, no offense,
has
Karen, but like
no idea who Peyton Manning is.
No, but like who instinctively yells that when they don't know who someone is? Especially like also what I love is that Peyton Manning had just signed like a historical amount of money and he's going to pick up his own takeout.
Is wild. But this is also, we're talking about the same woman who was sitting at a roulette table with Bill Belichick. And when I walked over, was like, Rachel, this is my new friend, Bill. And I was like, Karen.
Hey, Bill, like we're on to Seattle.
Seattle.
So another one is from August 6th of 2011. Big tweeting year for Travis Kelce was 2011.
Clearly.
About to go goat kart racing. So GOAT-CART. So goat kart racing.
Karts.
.. Ha ha ha. I hope I fit in the cart.
I love this guy's Okay, so this is how we're gonna dial it back in.
Okay. Well, I'm not done yet.
What?
I have 2 more.
Oh,
I have on.
There's nothing that gets better than goat karting. How do you top that?
November. Oh, the last one is my favorite one. But the next one is on November 15th, 2010. Is man 3. He loves his ellipses. He loves his
I
dot
love
dot
ellipses,
dot.
yeah.
So man dot dot dot. What I do for a Klondike bar right now? 4 exclamation marks. Incredible.
I had a Klondike bar last night.
Yeah. What'd you do for it?
Hung out with my little cousin.
So I actually have 2 more left.
And play Beyblades. Yo.
Oh, Beyblades are sick.
Beyblades
we'll get
are
in.
sick.
We've talked about Beyblades, but Beyblades was literally
Beyblades
back in the day. I was like,
although they're really cheap now, they literally explode every 4 seconds.
So Beyblades back in the day was like the grade school version of like cockfighting. Like it was, you'd walk into like a classroom or like at recess, and they'd be like, why are there a bunch of kids huddled around? Be a bunch of kids huddled around going like, kill him.
That like in this Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh is,
dude, man, I saw fist fights at school for that.
I participated in many of them. Like,
what a psycho, man.
I can't remember how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, but I do know that back in the day, I was like,
there was that blue card that had like the swirl on it that was basically like auto win. Anyways, read the last tweet.
Exodia, which was the card which was like the unbeatable guy that had 5 different cards he had to put together because it was parts of his body. And it was wild, man. I remember a kid got it. And we had to like stop playing because he'd just be like, "Oh yeah, like you're gonna put this Exodia," and we'd be like, "God damn it, Tim!" Like, all right, anyway,
damn it, Tim.
His name was Tim. But we had another one. This is from September 26, 2009. He goes, "Student loan just came in finally. Now the fun really starts." Travis Kelce, love that.
I wonder how Travis Kelce's student loans are doing.
I wonder if he's paid off his student loans. And then finally, Rachel, the final one, my favorite one, and I think this should be like, I'm gonna save this.
I might frame it.
Is on April 4th, 2010. Happy Easter to all! 3 exclamation marks. Hashtag shout out to Jesus for taking one for the team. 4 dots. Haha.
This guy.
You know what? Shout out Jesus for taking one for the team.
Out of control. Out of his mind.
If Travis Kelce, like, I guarantee you Travis Kelce.
What are the odds that Travis Kelce knows who Pontius Pilate is? 0.
Yeah. Well, as a kid who went to Bible camp, I'm pretty well versed in Pontius Pilate.
Yeah, I'm not.
Great. It's
so who?
Anyway,
yes. I think I have my answer to this.
Yes. Which NHL player has the biggest Travis Kelce vibes?
It's William Nylander. That guy doesn't give a crap, and he's so funny. He just doesn't do like the social media thing, but I'm talking about the vibe of like Travis Kelce is funny as hell, and William is, and he does not care what anyone else thinks of him. Like, he just doesn't care.
You know what? I don't agree with that because Willie is more mysterious. Travis Kelce, like, he has a podcast about his own life. He's literally in the most like visible relationship in the world right now. Like people, like he's like,
oh yeah, okay. From that perspective, I just meant more from like a personality, like not giving a crap and doing his own. Like, yes. He marches to the beat of his own drum.
But I mean, like, and he's not like he is, but I feel like he's more like Travis Kelce is like, he reminds me of like a Rottweiler, you know. But like
my tattoo is of literally my Rottweiler.
But like of a Rottweiler, but like a happy-go-lucky. Like I'm not gonna say golden retriever because he's like a. Travis Kelce's like a Bernese Mountain Dog, you know?
Yeah.
William Nylander, he's like a black cat. He's like mysterious, you know, like all that. I feel like there's got to be...
There's got to be some like...
they got to be like big. And like...
Is it Matthews then?
I think Matthews is still too like cool. Is there a...
In terms of like wildness, it might be Ovechkin.
Yeah.
And also being like an elite player in the league.
Yeah.
But I just meant from the vibe of like, William Nylander is going to do whatever he wants. Travis Kelce absolutely does whatever he wants. William Nylander's Twitter account was so funny that Lou Lamoriello like basically shut it down. And honestly, like, can't really blame him for doing that because some of the things on that Twitter account were a little wild, very much like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, it's
like you put it this way: if Travis Kelce lived in Toronto and knew he could kind of go like incognito, he would absolutely do what William Nylander does and
take the subway.
Not even that. He would literally walk his dog shirtless down the street in Yorkville and nobody would care. Like, Willie does that. He just does not care.
Would it be like Brad Marchand? Like, it was definitely okay. It's Brent Burns. What are we doing? It's definitely Brent Burns. Oh my God, it
is.
I was gonna say if he was still playing, it was Joe Thornton for sure. Oh. But like Brent Burns is just Joe Thornton Jr. Like, so yeah, it's Brent Burns.
What NHL player would have a podcast that is like New Heights? Like that vibe, not I'm gonna break this down. Like, what NHL players would have?
That's a really good question.
That kind of podcast. I'm trying to think of like.
That's a really good question.
Players in the game that like secretly have a fantastic personality that nobody really like gets to see because everything's like on lock. Trevor Zegras.
Oh yeah. Well, Trevor Zegras is already in
dating Dixie.
Yeah, like he's already in
Dixie D'Amelio.
Dixie D'Amelio, not Charlie. It's Dixie.
I don't even know who they are, so that's where.
I mean, they're famous for being bad at stuff. Like literally, they're not good at.
So basically, Trevor is famous for being good at something, and they're famous for being bad at everything. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
They were like they got in on TikTok like right when it popped off. Well, it's Charlie got in on TikTok right when it popped off, and she was just doing like dances. People are like, "Oh, she's pretty," so like everyone's gonna follow her.
Oh, so there's not even talent associated with this.
And then Dixie was like, "Oh, well, Charlie's my sister, and she's popping off."
Trevor Zegras and Cole Caulfield, give it to me.
Oh yeah, that would definitely like it's that group of like I feel like even like Jack Hughes would be in there, like all that, like it's that group of like American players, like young players who are friends, like the Zegras, Caulfield, all that kind of stuff for sure. But Rachel, we talked about William Nylander, so it's a great way to sort of segue into the NHL Global Series.
Yeah, starts today, Ottawa, Detroit.
It does. What time are they playing today?
2 p.m. Eastern.
Great.
Because Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, is 6 hours ahead. They don't do daylight savings, so I always get confused because I know like when I talk to my family in Germany, during daylight savings, it's 5 hours, not during daylight savings, it's 6 hours.
Rachel, has their society collapsed because they don't do daylight savings?
No. In fact, it's actually quite nice.
Interesting.
Well, I know Finland is 7 hours ahead, which is why I think Sweden might be 5 or 6, depending on like where you are.
All I know is the Leafs are playing, I believe, the Sens at 8 a.m. on Sunday, I think.
Yeah, so that would be like a 2 p.m. start there, which makes sense. That checks out.
It is.
The content that's coming out, though, like every team is doing such a great job.
Yes. Look, this year specifically, I found in recent years, but this year specifically, teams have really been stepping up the content game. Like teams have finally figured out how to use TikTok, but they've also
maybe because they hired people that aren't 40 billion years old.
They've hired the youths. How do you do, fellow kids? Like that kind of thing. But like,
and also the rumor going around that Mitch Marner was running the Leafs TikTok.
Mitch Marner does not.
He does not run the Leafs TikTok, guys.
Not, no.
I know who runs the Leafs TikTok. It ain't Mitch.
I went to high school with the person who runs the Leafs TikTok. I know who it is. But it's what I've found is that they've really stepped it up, and specifically, like if you look at the Global Series content, they're just like. It's great stuff, man. Like they really are. But we'll talk about the Global Series in a bit. But I want to give a big shout out. I tweeted about this yesterday, but I think it's important. I want to give a huge shout out to the Boston Bruins.
Yes.
Nobody does like off ice content like the Boston Bruins do.
And they're an original 6 team.
They're an original 6 team. They found a way to do to make their content. Like I love behind the scenes content. I love seeing what every room looks like, but I love seeing, what like how coaches prepare players in between periods.
Can I talk you through how it got done with my former employer? Because it's kind of like a good insight.
Well, I just want to say, like the Bruins, they have a behind, like how the Leafs have the blueprint, and that's always phenomenal. Like
I like the little moments they tweet out. Yeah. I wish they did what the Bruins did though.
Well, they do have like longer, like
weekly.
Well, the Bruins isn't like weekly.
I want the Bruins, like I want it weekly.
Yeah. Well, give it to me weekly. It takes a lot of energy. Like
you have the money.
Yeah, but it's also like let's be okay. Like
Hard Knocks, I guess is what I want.
But that's HBO, man. Hard Knocks isn't produced internally by the teams. Hard Knocks is like you have a prestige. You have like Warner Brothers, doing it for you. Like the Bruins do it the best. They have Behind the B, and which is they're already on. Like I said, I love watching behind the scenes stuff just because I love getting an insight into how each team works. I love seeing the facilities they have, but I also love just sort of like seeing different routines, learning different things. Like they do insights on different behind the scenes players. But the Bruins, they are already on their 4th 20-minute like behind the scenes, behind the B, like number 4.
There's only been 4 weeks in the season.
No way.
Yeah, this is the 5th week of the NHL season.
God, time is a flat
circle. So they're doing
it
weekly.
So they are doing it weekly then.
It's possible.
Yeah. But like they're already on their 4th 20-minute episode.
Well done, guys.
It's all phenomenal. They did one that's just solely about a road trip. Like it's like I love seeing that. Like I want like what's it like to be on and the Leafs did a great one of this as well. Like what's it like to be on a 5-game road trip like as an NHL team, hopping from city to city, like what, I love being like, okay, the equipment guys.
If each team that's in the Global Series does not have a behind the B style, like 20-minute episode on their trip, you're fired.
I guarantee you, at least with the Leafs, like the next blueprint will be all about the Global Series.
It needs to be though. Like I'm right with you. So the MLS and honestly coincided with the Apple TV deal, which is the best sporting deal there is because there are no blackouts. The stuff is available worldwide. So if because Apple owns all the rights, if somebody tweets out an MLS highlight and you live in like Antarctica, you can see it.
It's also because Apple TV costs by far the least amount of any subscription. It costs $8.99,
and it's also like the best produced because of the cameras and stuff they have. But what I'm saying is like when MLS and Apple signed this deal, they mandated every single MLS club, and obviously Messi's like a big part of this, but every single MLS club had to produce a behind the scenes type show. And the growth that clubs saw when they did that, like social media growth and everything, was tremendous. I think if the NHL, especially with the younger personalities like we just talked about, Trevor Zegras, Cole Caulfield, Jack Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, like Tim Stützle, Brady, the Kachucks, right? I would love a Kachuk podcast. I think that would be so funny. But with all of like the social media, and now we're kind of getting like new personalities, the NHL should follow the MLS and say, hey, like every single team's got to basically do what the Bruins are doing. The Oilers do something, but their hockey management team gets final say on what goes in there, which is similar. So when I was in Vancouver, we had a video team, and I'm pretty sure every single person except one has left, which kind of tells you where this is going. And they would come in and they would film like our trade deadline meetings, our free agency meetings, our whatever. And then they would cut it, and then PR would look it over and basically cut anything that was good. And then Jim and Patrick would watch it. And if they didn't like stuff, then we had to go back and cut more crap out.
So it ended up being 5 minutes long.
It was the trade deadline one, I believe, was 4 minutes and 23 seconds or something like that. And like, if you think about the trade deadline, I was there, like a lot of stuff happened. None of it made it in there. And it's like, it already freaking happened. It's not relevant. The deadline is passed. Put it out there. Like we have Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Tottenham allowing like cameras in there 24/7. Pep Guardiola is drawing his tactics on the board. You want to sit here and tell me that discussing an NHL trade is going to be more valuable than Pep Guardiola's tactics? Pound salt. Like we're acting as if, and this is why I really like the Bruins, like they don't act as if they're holding the nuclear codes. Stop acting like you're holding the nuclear codes, because the reality of the situation is most of you do not have a university education. Like we're not dealing with war, the nuclear codes, any sort of like highly confidential stuff that impacts society. If trade deadline passes, free agency passes, just show that you had interest in the players. Fans want to know, hey, we had interest in this player. We couldn't get the deal done because this was the price, right? We didn't want to give up XYZ. Like if the Leafs there was a player, I forget last year at the deadline, that everyone wanted, Tyler Bertuzzi. And Leafs fans wanted to know, right? Why didn't they get him? Well, it'd be kind of cool if we saw a video that was like, oh, the asking price was like Matthew Nyes and a first and this and that. And then everyone would be like, well, I'm glad they didn't make that trade.
Like what I would have liked to see in what was the Leafs thing called on Amazon that we watched?
All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. There we go.
Which is what they have for like Liverpool. There's the Arsenal one.
But what I wanted to see during that season is I wanted to see like the conversation of like why the Leafs decided to go with like Nick Foligno over like Taylor Hall. You know, like I wanted to see that, but they didn't. But to be fair, like the team produced stuff has gotten a lot better. And,
it just needs to have like the hockey operations department just can't have a say anymore.
I hate to ever give this organization props for anything at this point, but the thing about the Chicago Blackhawks is that they did a really good job last year. Is they had an entire episode around the trade deadline dedicated to basically finding Patrick Kane his trade.
That was amazing.
And it was literally, it was so funny because it was like basically 15 to 20 minutes of Kyle Davidson like slowly losing his mind, trying to make a trade with like the Rangers and everything work. But like they captured like the actual time where Davidson called Kane to tell him like you've been traded to the Rangers, like all that kind of stuff. They had meetings where like they're talking about like it's great, and it's really, really important. I'm in the game. I'm in the Leafs room. I'm in the room of any team that I cover, like, you know, and yet I still love seeing behind the scenes stuff because it's taking people like one step further than even I get to be. And there's so many, and like,
I would love,
like, there's a million other fans out there who want to see the same thing.
So I've sat in draft meetings.
Yeah.
I've heard the conversations, and then I've seen what gets like put out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Montreal did an amazing job this year of actually showing Jeff Gorton being like, if we're going to pass on a kid with this level of talent, you had better be sure. Like I thought that the behind the scenes conversation, which was very obviously about Matvei Michkov, was done so well. And you can do that. They didn't end up drafting him. They still put it out. No harm was done. No nuclear codes were shared.
And I don't believe they even mentioned the name. They didn't say his name. Exactly. So you're able to like kind of read between the lines, but they have plausible deniability on that. Like
exactly. So it's like I sit in draft meetings that are a week long, and then you suss it down to 2 minutes, and it's
because
like
people don't want to seem like they're dumb. Like keep in mind
then don't be dumb.
Yeah, but like the most like circulated video in that regard was in like in the offseason of like 2010 or 2011 when where that Bruins scout to Peter Chiarelli was talking about Tyler Seguin. He's like, yeah, he's skilled, but does he fit our culture? You know, and then.
But that's like, you know what? When you're building a team, it's a legitimate question to ask, and it's like, yeah, people like maybe that's a memeable moment, and whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, you'd rather have that content than not. And if it's a team produced thing, that's not tampering because you weren't saying that publicly to try and make something
and it'll
happen.
Be released after the things happen. Like it's not like
exactly
like if you release it after the trade deadline, it's not tampering to talk about like it's
you can't make a trade.
You know, keep in mind there's so many things that people don't understand about this sport, specifically salary cap stuff, that make it impossible for people to understand. So if you have the conversations of executives talking about it, like I want like then at least it gives fans an insight into it.
Give us the meeting where Brandon Pridham got the Leafs to within $4 of the cap.
Yeah, like that's like why not do that?
Or you know? give us the meeting. Like I was talking to an agent about this. It would be really cool. Let's say there's a major free agent. So let's say William Nylander walks, right? Okay. Let's just say free agency. It would be so cool if William Nylander's agency paid a professional video company. They had a professional, like Wasserman, for example, has their own arm. Their video to
basically do a documentary of like William Nylander like finding his home.
Yeah, and it's like this is what this team pitched. They don't have to show the pitches, but then let's say they go through the pitches, right? And then they show the agent sitting down with Nylander being like and laying out, okay, this is what you get in this city. This is what you get in this city. This is what you get here. To see that process,
it'd be great.
I think would be so cool, and it would give you insight. And it comes to mind, I guess this is kind of where we're going next, is like the insight into the Bo Horvat, JT Miller, like Vancouver Canucks stuff, the Canucks did not put out nary a piece of content about how that decision was made, what was said to both players before that decision was made, what was said to players like Elias Pettersson.
So you're talking about kind of the decision being when Bo Horvat got traded?
No, the decision to sign JT over Bo.
Oh, okay. So you got, because I feel like some people might not understand what you're talking about in that regard. So in the summer when they extended JT Miller for $1 million over Bo Horvat. Yeah,
so it's interesting.
And this makes sense because Bo Horvat made his return to Vancouver last night. The Islanders end up losing.
That was a fantastic game last night. I watched it for like obvious reasons. Seeing Bo well up on three separate occasions, like I think that kind of tells you the last time I remember that really happening was when Matt Sundin came back to Toronto.
Yeah. Or when PK Subban came back to Montreal. He was bawling his eyes out.
Yeah, okay. That's a great find. I remember that. To see, like, you don't get emotional going back somewhere unless you truly, deeply care, right? And Patrick Johnson wrote an article about how Bo went out with a bunch of guys. Everyone thinks it was Eliza. It wasn't Eliza. It was a different Aquilini restaurant. But once that decision is made, once Horvat's traded, produce a piece because you've been rolling.
Yeah.
I was there. You were rolling. Mm-hmm. You were in the room. Put out a piece after that can be part of like a thank you, Bo. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of explains to the fans, because if you remember, a lot of fans were furious about how that all went down and the shroud of secrecy. And to be fair, Bo had every right to be angry, because what happened was there was obviously like a decision that had to be made, because JT, to his credit, had a 99-point season. Had JT had his regular 75-point season, both players are probably still on the Canucks, right? And so the 99-point season kind of put everything in flux. And the plan that they said publicly and that they told Bo is that they were going to build around him. They were going to use him, Petey, Besser, like that was going to be, that's core. Why Besser re-signed, like that's why they qualified him, right? I was there, that's why that happened. That's why like Thatcher Demko wasn't traded. That's why like a lot of stuff sort of happened. Kuzmenko was brought in. You tell somebody who wears the C, who does so much stuff for your community, who's a consummate captain through years of incompetence of the previous regime, you tell him, we are finally going to build around you. And then the way he finds out he's not being built around is when the extension for JT Miller gets announced. That's how he found out. Like it wasn't, he didn't find out in the press release. He found out that that they basically had gone back on their word when they told him they had extended JT. So, and like the behind the scenes of that would have been really cool to see. And so I think a lot of fans, like, I don't have an issue with you booing former players, but to vilify Bo for him being like, for saying like 2 sentences after what he did for the organization and never said a bad word about it through years of incompetence, I think is extremely short-sighted. And I'm really glad he got the welcome back that he did. And I'm glad that he was able to score and Miller was able to score and Hughes got the overtime winner. It kind of felt like a passing of the torch a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that's a moment where you're rolling the whole time. You're rolling all through camp. You have interviews. They did a sit down with Bruce in his office. And I knew that because we could hear it in our video office. And they were talking about Bo and JT and coming into the season and like they're both expiring. Like what's going to happen? Like all talking about that. You could have run a huge episode on Bo and JT and the building of the team. And think about how well, given like how well the Canucks are playing now, think about how well that would do. Like, what if they released that yesterday?
Would have been great.
Would have been incredible content to give fans the insight into the decision, to the like JT kind of like coming into his own, Pettersson really stepping to the forefront, Quinn Hughes being named captain, like all of those conversations. I think it would have been super cool if the Canucks had, and like any team, like Brady Tkachuk is another one. Give us the behind the scenes. How did you arrive that was your captain? Right? How did you arrive that it was Quinn versus Petey? How did you arrive at, if you're Ottawa, that Brady Tkachuk was your captain? That's obviously like a lot easier. But things like that, I think, would make for great content. And I also think that it would help with the vitriol and nonsense you see on Twitter, because contrary to popular belief, Twitter is not real life. There were so many Canucks fans that had no idea that Bo said what he said. It was really confined to like hockey Twitter.
And there's also, and this is sort of in a way to get teams to be interested in doing this, is you can edit it in any way you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you know that the Canucks would have edited that to making it seem like, you know, a lot better for them, you know?
Of course. And the trade, like the Hronek looks incredible.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
He looks unbelievable, and like
Alan Walsh will make sure that you know that.
Yeah, and the other
hardest
thing is
shot of the season last year.
We
night.
Want some like insider.
107.9 miles per hour.
I think it got corrected. I think they corrected it this morning. It's 101 now, which is
that would be no way. I didn't. If they haven't told Alan Walsh, because he's still tweeting about it.
Want some insider?
Yeah, sure.
Jim Rutherford called his shot while I was there. This was the season he wanted the Canucks to really go for the cup. And it was like his belief that they were going to be able to take like a healthy run at it. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're only a month into the season, but hey, they look absolutely fantastic. There's about a ridiculous PDO run happening.
There's a million numbers that suggest that this is not sustainable, but they banked enough points.
But Jim Rutherford called his shot. He sat the entire department down and said, 2024 is what we're going for.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So Canucks fans, he said it, and he said it 2 years ago. So it's not like this was a willy-nilly thing. He said it 2 years ago. So I think he was hired like 2 years ago in a couple of weeks kind of thing. But you look at it, the top three scorers in the NHL, Hughes, Miller, Pettersson, all tied 26 points. Besser tied with Matthews for the league leading goals with 13. Thatcher Demko,
he's the runaway Vezina favorite right now.
Quinn Hughes, runaway Norris favorite right now.
Another 3 points last night.
Yeah, like he looks fantastic. He's taken a step here, and I think maybe getting him a defense partner that doesn't look like Bambi on the ice is helpful, because that switch that they run at the top there on the power play on the Hronek, they've been running that all year. It's virtually unstoppable. Like, it's incredible. The pass JT Miller made to Besser to score the power play goal last night was a chef's kiss, and it kind of made up for the fact that on the Horvat goal, he looked utterly horrendous.
So, Rachel, you're speaking to me about these goals as if I watched the game.
You didn't watch the game,
I did not watch the game.
How dare you? Yeah, the Canucks will regress. Jim Rutherford called his shot. Give us the content.
Listen, the Canucks have banked enough points at this point that they will make the playoffs.
Literally, Thatcher Demko would have to have a season-ending injury for it to even be in the conversation.
They will make the playoffs, and even then, they could limp along with Kelce DeSmith or whatever. Like, they could limp along. Look, the Penguins missed the playoffs by a point last year, limping along with Kelce DeSmith. So
that's fair. But no, honestly, and I think a lot of people think I'm like angry that the Canucks are having success. I genuinely, there's quite a few people in that organization that I want to have success.
Well, they won you money.
And they also won me nearly $1,000 last night. So please continue winning, because I continue making boatloads of money.
I gotta start.
And they're super fun to watch. Like,
man, I gotta pull a Shane Pinto and get you to like place my bets for me or something. Like, this is
but yeah,
crazy.
like, I just want to make it clear that like I don't actively cheer against the Canucks and like want them to be bad. There are a lot of people that I really want to see succeed there, and a lot of people are like, I want Pettersson to get his money. I want Demko to win a Vezina, because I think he consistently gets overlooked for Eastern, and I think Quinn Hughes gets overlooked because the Canucks play at 10:30, which is kind of funny because then Canucks fans complain when the Canucks have to play early when they play like the Leafs and the Habs. Can't have it both ways. You either want people on the East Coast to see them or you don't. And if you want people on the East Coast to see them, you got to play earlier. So
in a similar vein to that, Rachel, I know there are a lot of people who think that I'm cheering against the Edmonton Oilers and that I want the Edmonton Oilers to succeed. And those people are right.
So the difference here is those people are right. The people there are now, make no mistake, and I have no issue saying this, and it'll be very clear when my book comes out in a couple of years. There are certain people in that organization that I have less than zero time for. But those people do not outweigh the people that I have a ton of respect for and would like to see win.
There we go. All right, Patrick Kane, Rachel.
He's done some winning, hasn't
he? He has, yes. Now he's been training in Toronto or Oakville, I guess, or whatever.
Of course he's training in Oakville. If you don't know what Oakville is, it's like the richest suburb in the GTA.
So he's doing that. And he's starting to in his return from hip surgery, he's starting to begin his free agent tour. He's starting to get to cull the field. And so there are 4 teams basically that have been mentioned.
I haven't really been following this, even though Patrick Kane is like, I mean, let's call it what it is. I wore 88 growing up. Yeah. And then I switched to 28, but
see, Patrick Kane it'll be interesting to see what he's like, because we have to talk about how Patrick Kane, he was playing hurt last year.
Uber hurt,
and so he's gotten surgery or whatever to fix that. That's why he hasn't played at all this year. But how much of the player, what will he look like after getting pretty major hip surgery?
I wonder. So I was having this conversation with somebody who knows Patrick really well. And then I went and I did a ton of research just because I still have all of my academic stuff. So I still have access to a bunch of repositories and journals and stuff like that. So I went and read up on the surgery and the impact that it has. But the person I was having the conversation with said, if you are a player that relies on being an elite skater, right? So if McDavid had the hip surgery that, actually he's not a good example because he has a ridiculous brain too. Kasperi Kapanen. If Kasperi Kapanen or Ilya Mikheyev had the surgery that Kane did, it would likely be a death sentence on their careers because it's very difficult to get back to that level skating wise. But if you're somebody who relies on your elite hockey sense, elite stick handling ability, elite passing ability, the drop off might not be as significant because your game isn't as reliant on skating. So I wonder what we'll see with Kane.
But Kane he relies a lot on his lateral movement though.
Yes, but he doesn't rely on the actual backwards forwards. He relies on his edge work, and edge work is less taxing than the all out
you still have to open your hips and whatnot. You still have to. So but anyway, we have 4 teams that have that he's apparently linked to or weighing seriously. And it's funny enough, they're all in the Atlantic Division. He really wants to be in the Atlantic Division. The first one I guess we'll talk about is the Leafs. I don't know if he's the best guy for them.
There's gonna be a certain faction of hockey fans that don't like me for saying this.
Uh-oh.
And I'm gonna look straight in the face and be like, I don't care. If Patrick Kane signs with the Leafs, I will be getting that on a jersey so quickly. You will not even be able to, your head will spin.
Well, what number would he wear?
Not 88.
And, would he take 8, I guess?
Potentially, yeah.
Because Muzzin's not playing.
Muzzin's done, yeah. Muzzin's done.
Muzzin's
I don't know. I think, listen, if Patrick Kane wants to play for the Leafs, I'm sure they'll figure out a number. But growing up, if you think about when Patrick Kane was drafted, he was drafted in 2007.
Dude, Patrick Kane was the
I was 11.
Patrick Kane was the Steph Curry of our generation. He changed how people wanted to play hockey.
I literally watched, there were a couple of non-Leafs that I watched so many YouTube videos of. Pavel Datsyuk, for LOL obvious reasons, and Patrick Kane were 2 of the main ones. Both of them have their very obvious warts in terms of like as human beings.
Yeah,
but that doesn't take away from the fact that, first of all, an 11-year-old doesn't know any of that. And I'm not going to lie and say that he wasn't my favorite player growing up just because of that. I didn't know any of that. And frankly, at 11, I wouldn't care. Like, it wouldn't matter to me. I'm 11. You know what I mean? So, I mean...
We do want to acknowledge the sort of like moral quandary that comes with him signing to anyone's team just because of in the past, everything that's gone on with Patrick Kane. So, yeah, so with the Leafs, now in terms of his actual fit with the Leafs, that's pretty tricky because I see like there have been a lot of sort of like mock lines or whatever.
I think there's like...
Leafs, and they always put him on the third line. Patrick Kane's not like a third line player.
So, I mean, you talk about like the moral quandary, right? And like that has to be acknowledged.
Yes.
It only gets acknowledged in the public realm. When you are, especially if you are a team that hasn't won a Stanley Cup for multiple generations, if there is not like handcuffs and like in jail situation, they don't give a shit. Like that's just
They should.
They should. They don't. And that's I think they should. I really wish that pro athletes were held to the same standard as like...
And 3 of the 4 teams we're going to talk about here are teams that have not won Stanley Cups for multiple generations. So
that just is like, there's no sense in having like outrage about it because it's going to happen.
So yeah, when it comes to the Leafs, I don't know where he fits. Like I don't necessarily know.
I think that first line stays the way it is because it has to. I think Patrick goes on the second line with Nylander and Tavares. Your third line then becomes Bertuzzi, Robertson, Domi, and your fourth line then becomes David Kampf, Calle Yarncroc,
and Noah Gregor, I guess.
And Noah Gregor, and then Bobby McMahon is your up and down, which is great. Legit. That's a legit ridiculous option.
Now the thing is,
but then it also allows you, if you sign Patrick Kane, it also allows you to trade somebody off your roster to help whatever the hell is going on the back end, which I think is probably the more likely scenario.
Yeah, there. Absolutely. But it's very interesting just because what does Kane want? You know, he wants money. That's the thing. Like he wants to be paid.
He's not somebody chasing a cup. He's got
3 cups, right? So he's like he will only sort of acquiesce on that stuff with a true contender, and I think he does see the Leafs as a true contender, as everyone kind of.
Somebody said to me that like if he's going to a team that like isn't legitimately ready to contend, it's probably in the neighborhood of 3.5, 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, if
like prorated though, like on the
it has to be prorated. Yeah. But if he is going to a team like Toronto, they wouldn't be shocked if it was a $1 million deal. Which even I'm sorry, but if you can get Patrick Kane for $1 million,
you take it.
That's a shot worth taking.
But it's going to be so hard to fit that in with their cap as it is right now.
Not really.
Okay, never mind.
$1.1 million. Ryan Reeves, you're on waivers. Thanks for coming.
Even like Connor Timmins.
It doesn't even matter.
Get ready to learn
Ryan
Marley's Z's, buddy.
Yeah, 1.125 can be buried.
So Ryan Reeves, you're gone. Yeah.
Thanks.
The next team is the Sabres, his hometown.
That makes so much sense.
It just seems they have the cap space to do it. Like the Sabres have right now 7.264915.
Now they're out with Tage Thompson.
Yeah, Tage Thompson is going to be out for a while.
Jordan Greenway is their top line left winger. So I think I might know where Patrick Kane fits.
So it just seems like Buffalo has been the obvious landing spot forever.
For so many reasons.
Kane wanted to play like under the bright lights of Manhattan, whatever, last year. So that's why he went to the Rangers.
Can you even blame him?
It would be great for like every athlete should at one point call MSG their home, you know, or strive to.
If you're in basketball, it's like the Lakers kind of.
Yes.
The Lakers, the Bulls. Like there are
not really the Bulls anymore. They've lost a lot of cachet. It's the Lakers, not even the Knicks.
Not the Knicks.
It's pretty much just the Lakers at this point. Like I think, really, or the Celtics.
The Celtics. Right in the NFL, there's like different depending on like division. But the Cowboys are like, if you are a superstar for the Cowboys, it's a different situation. In hockey, it's Toronto, New York, Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, no offense. And like, Boston's a bit of a different animal just because hockey is a bit of a different animal in Boston. And Boston, the Bruins are not king in Boston. The Patriots and the Celtics come first.
And the Red Sox.
So like, you're not king.
But they're still huge.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm not saying they're not huge, but it's not like if you are a superstar for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's your town. It is literally your town. If you're a superstar for the Buffalo Sabres and you're from Buffalo, like if Patrick Kane went and had, by some god's grace, like a fantastic run with the Sabres, people would be like, Josh Allen, who?
People are already starting to be like that right now.
But you know what I mean? Like, if Patrick Kane, the hometown boy, goes home to Buffalo, like, the Sabres are
If you're a Bills practice squad player, like you can get a seat at any restaurant in the city, like all that, so Patrick Kane goes home to Buffalo, like that would be huge. He makes the most sense just in terms of a roster fit. Yeah. He makes the most sense in terms of what he's looking for salary. It just seems like this is it's destined to happen.
I think there's always something to be said. You and I have talked about what it's like to either work or play for the team you either like in the city you lived in or like grew up with, right? I mean, I've said it on this podcast. Like, I love doing this podcast with you, but if that team came calling, you'd be doing this podcast by yourself. Right? If in the same way that, like, I'm going to get to do something pretty cool next summer. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to get to do something pretty cool next summer. And like, the level of meaning that it's going to have for my family is far beyond working for whatever team kind of thing, right? There's something inherent about going home.
Yeah. So there's the Panthers,
which is not home.
Team. Not home. It doesn't. They want them, and good on the Panthers for wanting the big names. They always seem to be in the mix for it. I think Patrick Kane and Matthew Tkachuk would be very fun.
Oh my God, that would be so annoying to play against.
But the Panthers are also like capped to the moon right now. Like they are in cap gridlock right now.
So Evan Rodriguez is currently on the top line. I think probably not. I think you could comfortably move Evan Rodriguez down to where Anton Lundell is with Eetu Luostarinen, and then put Nick Cousins on the fourth line kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're not signing, like, let's be quite clear here. You're not signing Patrick Kane to play him 10 minutes a game.
No, you're not.
Like, no, like, I mean, you look at power play units. Obviously, Buffalo's without Tage Thompson. They sent Matty Savoy back to junior, which kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit. But Buffalo's also not a contender. Like, they're not ready to contend yet. 3 years from now, LOL, they're going to be hilarious because they're going to have all of those top picks in the lineup because they've done such a great job of drafting and developing. But in Toronto, like, that the window is now.
It's right now.
It is literally this year.
And it's same with the Panthers. If they can fit, they have $94,000 in cap space right now. So if they can
so you got to send
something out. Yeah. And I'm not sure if Patrick Kane views the Panthers as a full stop total contender. Like, I'm not sure if he would acquiesce as much.
I agree because I mean, it's like, not everyone in the NHL knows that the only reason the Panthers sniffed the second round
was
Bobrovsky going
Tkachuk.
nutso and Tkachuk kind of scoring timely goals. Like, Bobrovsky didn't play well in the Boston series, but they don't sniff a win in the second round without Bobrovsky. They don't sniff a third round or any win. I mean, they got run over by Vegas, but if Bobrovsky doesn't play like that, Kane is smart enough to know, because Kane's similar to Crosby. Like, he is a hockey junkie. Like, he watches so he knows. So I kind of wonder, I think, one, he's going to take his time rehabbing, obviously, but two, like, maybe like settle it and kind of see how the cards fall.
Because we're starting to, like, he's taking this long, A, to rehab, but also B, to figure out sort of, all right, which teams are for real this year, like how the season goes.
Right.
Because he could have been like, all right, I want to sign with the Oilers.
But what's super clear is he wants to play in the East. That seems to be pretty clear.
All of the teams that he's being linked to are all in the same division.
Although, I mean, if you're Edmonton, like...
He's not doing that.
No, if you're Edmonton and you could put Patrick Kane on a line with Connor McDavid...
And Leon Draisaitl?
No, then you could separate them. You could have one line that has McDavid and Kane and one line that has Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl. That would be so funny. Then you just put Hyman and... I don't know, put a Vander Kane on your third line, whatever. But that would be wild.
That would be wild.
The sauce pass, he could fire to McDavid up the ice, and McDavid just goes in on a breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
And then the final team is the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, that's money related.
They have the cap space to do it. They have roughly
money related.
They have 4.4 in
it
cap
would
space
cost
right
them
now.
4.4.
And it would count, but like
it would cost them that.
Yeah.
Because the Red Wings are not contending.
I mean, who knows, man? Justin Hall. They got Justin Hall. So they're contending.
Yeah, if we're talking about this year, you're talking Leafs, Panthers are your most likely destinations.
Or Sabres. I think he goes to the Sabres.
No. If you're talking about him wanting to win this year, the Sabres are not winning this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to the Rangers if he wants to win this year.
They've already said that's not happening.
Right. But like if he wanted to go back for like a contending purpose.
I wonder if they'd even have him back after how everything went last year.
If he goes to Buffalo, it's twofold. One, it's an exciting team and it's his hometown. If he goes to Detroit, it's this. Like, it's money.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of the podcast. We will be back on Monday. Donate to Jumpstart, our charity of choice. It's great. It gets kids from low-income backgrounds involved in team sports, which is very important to their mental and physical development. Just very, very important. And before we head out, Rachel, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Watch the Global Series games at NHL teams. Give us the content at Leafs. Give me Nylander grandma content, please.
That would be great. And yeah, so we'll see you on Monday. Peace.